Hi guys, this is Chris with Harris Arms. Welcome back to the channel. And you have to forgive me today. I'm making this video on my iPhone. I had some camera issues. I wanted to make a video last night regarding what I'm going to talk about here for a little bit today, which is the ATF releasing their final ruling on pistol braces. So I'm pretty sure you've heard of it already. If you're not new to firearms channels on YouTube, there have been a bunch of them out there. There's a lot of really good information, but I think a lot of people, and I don't want to sound like I'm speaking about anybody in particular, but some people are making what I would say a mountain out of a molehill. Although I agree with all of them that this decision that came down to yesterday, actually, because today's Saturday the 14th, that ruling dropped on the 13th. That ruling is a really, really, really bad thing. It's a bad thing for the Second Amendment, and it's going to hurt a lot of folks. So before I get into what I want to talk about with that, let me just explain what a pistol brace is, maybe for some of you who don't know, which most of you probably do. And again, this is on my iPhone, so you'll have to forgive me. Some of this I'll do. I'm having to do with one hand and hold this. I don't have my good camera. I had battery issues. My batteries are good, but I think my charger's bad. So I've ordered a new charger, and you just got to forgive me there. I'm a small channel. I don't have any sponsors, so I buy all the equipment myself, and camera equipment is not cheap, let me tell you. So anyway, we'll work around that with the iPhone today, and so I can get this information out because I think it's very important. So what exactly is a pistol brace? Okay, so pistol brace, what exactly is it and what was it designed to do? Well, a little history on this is back in 2012, a company called SBA Tactical, which I think most of you have probably heard of, and I think I have the history right here. If I'm a little off, forgive me. But around 2012, they came out with this idea. I think they may have partnered with SIG or had some stuff to do with that, or at least in some way. And they came up with this idea to help people who are disabled to be able to fire an AR-15. And the way this was done was, and this isn't the same brace, of course, this is like a newer version, but it was a way to kind of attach the brace through some type of maybe pass-through technology, or even something that was maybe not completely covered like this. Maybe it was just one side of it, but a way to stabilize your arm into here, which would lock it into place, and you could stabilize the gun and be able to shoot it with one hand. So pretty neat idea. The history behind that is the ATF at that point said, well, okay, that's good. And I'm paraphrasing a lot here, so you just have to give me a little bit of leeway on some of this stuff. ATF said, okay, that's okay. We can we'll say that that's legal. Well, then in 2015, they come back and they say, well, we need to revisit this idea of these pistol braces, and we're going to say that they're going to be illegal according to how it's used, right? According to how you use it and how that goes. So a bit of a mess in 2015, and then directly after that, they walked that back and said, no, we're going to say that the pistol braces are fine, right? That you can put them on AR systems like that with a barrel less than 16 inches, and you're not creating a short-barreled rifle, right? We're going to deem it a pistol. All right, cool. So that's not bad. Well, fast forward to 2020, and in 2020, the DOJ proposed the rule on braces, and this is what sparked all the debate that we have going on today, I guess, or it's what brings about the final ruling that we have as of yesterday. But there was they proposed this rule on braces, and that's where the idea, at least for the 4999, if you've ever heard of that, that is it's a worksheet that is from 2021. And it was going to be this monstrous deal on how you would go through certain criteria that your gun meets in order for it to be considered a pistol. Just a monstrosity of a thing, which I'm glad they did away with. So anyway, they come in 2020 and decide they want to propose this rule. They backed off of that, and they have supposedly, or they were supposedly going to drop this final ruling months and months and months ago, and it had been pushed back and pushed back and pushed back. Fast forward to today, and we have this final ruling on pistol braces. Now, what does this ruling say? The ruling says a lot, but basically what the ruling gets at, let me kind of break it down as easy as I can. I have not read the whole thing, but I've read a bunch of it. It's 293 pages, and I think I've got a little glare right there. Again, shooting on an iPhone, I apologize. I'll give you kind of a breakdown, I think, of the core essentials for what we need to understand about the rule. But before I do that, let me explain kind of my stance on this whole thing. This rule is horrific. It's terrible. It is overreach. But was it foreseen, or what was the idea that the ATF would eventually, or the government eventually, would come after pistol braces? What was that something that we knew was coming? Yeah, of course we did. Of course we did. I made a video on this and talked about this prior and said, hey, this is definitely coming. And the reason for that is that while the pistol braces were a great idea for someone who couldn't, someone to be able to brace their arm in some way, this right here, brace their arm to be able to shoot, while that's a good thing for someone who's disabled, that's not the general reason why people were buying them. The reason why people were buying them is so that they could have a shorter barreled AR system, mainly for home defense situation, which is a great idea. Problem with that is short barreled rifles are part of the National Firearms Act. Now, the National Firearms Act that's the problem that that's the real problem, right? This whole brace ruling is just a tiny stone, right? A tiny little stone that we have in our foot right now. The massive problem that we have is the NFA altogether, because the NFA is just horrific. It is terrible. It is, I would say, it's unconstitutional. Right, in that it keeps law-abiding citizens from being able to own what the Constitution guarantees that we can bear, right? Firearms, right? It takes that away. Now, some people may argue, well, you don't need X, Y, and Z. Well, while you might can make a case for, say, full auto weapons, and even then, I don't care. If you're an American law-abiding citizen, you ought to be able to own machine guns. You ought to be able to own tanks or jets if you can afford them, right? But at the same time, where you might be able to make a case for full auto and some stuff like that, I don't know how you make a case for a short barrel rifle. I have no idea how you make a case for a short barrel rifle or a suppressor. Those two baffle my mind how they could be part of the NFA. If you think about it, so the reason why short barrel rifles and shotguns, by the way, they're both in the same category for me. But the reason why short barrel rifles were put in the NFA in the first place is because they were deemed too easy to conceal. Okay? Well, what about a handgun? I would say a handgun's a lot easier to conceal than a short barrel rifle or a short barrel shotgun, right? That's absolutely true. And here's a little history fact for you. The idea behind the NFA originally was to ban handguns. When they figured out they couldn't do that, then they kind of conceded, or they kind of said, well, we'll do short barrel rifles and shotguns so we can get something done, right? Full auto, short barrel rifle, short barrel shotgun. So the NFA is an absolute joke. For one thing, suppressors, not only short barrel rifles are excellent for home defense, but suppressors are something that is very healthy for us. If you shoot a lot, it can save your hearing in the long run. So they don't need to be on there. But the reason why short barrel rifles and shotguns are on there, in my opinion, is absolutely ridiculous compared to the hands down most concealable firearm that we have, right? The pistol. This is a little bit shorter than my AR-15. It's a little bit shorter than an AR-15 that has an 8-inch barrel, let alone a 10-inch barrel, right? So it's a little easier to conceal. So it just makes no sense to me whatsoever Makes no sense to me whatsoever that short barrel rifles are even on the NFA list anyway. But they are there, right? So that's where we should focus our attention. And this ruling, for as bad as it is for what it does, because it affects a ton of people, it may actually help get at that NFA, the NFA in total, right? It may help remove short barrel rifles or shotguns off the NFA, or get rid of the NFA completely. And let me explain why. Well, the rule itself is this. So it's a 293-page monstrosity, but what's really important, there are a few things that are really important, but one I think is very important is what you have on pages 269 and 270 of the ruling. And that is where the ATF redefines what a rifle is, right? And I just want to read a little bit of this, and then I'll talk about it some more. So it says, this final rule's amended definition of rifle clarifies that the term designed, redesigned, made, or remade, and intended to be fired from the shoulder includes a weapon that is equipped with an accessory, component, or other rearward attachment, e.g. a stabilizing brace, they say, that provides surface area that allows the weapon to be fired from the shoulder. That's very key. Let me read that again. That provides surface area that allows the weapon to be fired from the shoulder. So basically, just to break that down, that's anything you put on the end of your AR that has surface area, which they don't define, that allows it to be defined from the shoulder. Now, immediately you may think about, what about a bare buffer tube, right? Because, this has been completely safety checked. There's nothing in the chamber. We're good to go there. But this is a naked buffer tube, and there's area right there, right? I mean, so that provides surface area that allows the weapon to be fired from the shoulder, provided that other factors, as listed in the rule, indicate that the weapon is designed, made, and intended to be fired from the shoulder. These other factors are, and so factor one, whether the weapon has a weight or length consistent with the weight or length of similarly designed rifles. Number two, whether the weapon has a length of pull measured from the center of the trigger to the center of the shoulder stock or other rearward accessory, including stabilizing braces, component, or attachment, including, here's a good one, including an adjustable or telescoping attachment with the ability to lock into various positions along a buffer, tube, receiver extension, or other attachment method that is consistent with the similarly designed rifles. Whether the weapon, this is number three, is equipped with sights or a scope with eye relief that requires the weapon to be fired from the shoulder in order to be used as designed. Whether the surface area, this is the key, I thought it was on a second ago, but it's right here. So this is number four. Whether the surface area that allows the weapon to be fired from the shoulder is created by a buffer tube, receiver extension, or any other accessory, component, or other rearward attachment that is necessary for the cycle of operations. The last couple are the manufacturer's direct and indirect marketing and promotional materials indicating the intended use of the weapon, and information demonstrating the likely use of the weapon in the general community. So what is it saying? Well, I'll just tell you, folks. It's saying that nobody can have a pistol AR, an AR pistol. Right? It's just not going to happen. Not a traditional AR pistol, not one that has a direct impingement gas system. So if your AR has a buffer tube, which standard ARs have a buffer tube, right? There's no way that you can make it a pistol. It's not going to happen. So you're going to fall under this ruling, and if you do own a short configuration of an AR-15, anything with a barrel less than 16 inches, you got a few options. You can SBR, which the ATF has waived the $200 tax stamp that's required with that. Some say that's not legal; they can't do that, but I mean, whatever. You can do that. You can turn it into the ATF. You can destroy it, or you could buy a barrel that's 16 inches or longer and change out the barrel that's on it. So yeah, that's what we're going to have to do. Now, while that is an absolute atrocity that they even did this, right? If it's an attack on our Second Amendment rights. Again, I'm gonna re-stress this. We knew this was coming. The fight isn't about the pistol braces, guys. The fight is over the NFA, the bad law to begin with, right? The brace was, speaking for people who aren't disabled, it was a way to get around the NFA law there with a shorter AR for home defense. So we knew that was coming at some point. A lot of people are going to fight this now. Here's where I think that we might have a chance to actually do something about the NFA because of this ruling. There are going to be a lot of lawsuits that come around. People may say, "Oh, well, you can bank that people are going to have this tied up in litigation. They're going to do this, and we're going to be able to keep our braces." Well, I hope that's not what happens. What I hope happens is this: is that litigation comes about because of this, and these pistol braced ARs end up getting deemed short barrel rifles, and here's why. Because I think we have some precedents already set recently with the Supreme Court that, and also in other cases, that when a weapon is considered a common use weapon, it puts it outside of the ability to be banned, right? So if the number is true, a lot of people said there are 10 to 40 million plus of these pistol braced ARs out there, and believe me, I know a lot of people that have multiple. Right? I have one buddy that has 5. I know a lot of people have more than that. So if there are 10 to 40 million plus of these braced ARs out there, and if they are deemed as SBRs, then I think could be a case made for them being a common use firearm. And if they're a common use firearm, then they need to be removed from the NFA. And if they're removed from the NFA, that means that we can own them without having to worry about registering them with the government, which would be awesome, which would be the way it should have been to begin with, right? Again, the NFA is stupid. I mean, it makes no sense. I want to say it's outdated, but it's not even outdated. It wasn't a good idea when they did it. It was based on movies, right? Because everybody thought that suppressors make guns so quiet that nobody could hear them if they were like right across the room from you, which is dumb. It's not true. It's why the term silencer is really not a good way to describe a suppressor, right? The suppressor suppresses sound. And in the same way, whereas the whole suppressor deal was dumb, they wanted to say that they made it so quiet that nobody could even hear you shoot, which is just completely wrong. The whole idea of short barrel rifles and short barrel shotguns are just these things that can be stuck down your pants and concealed anywhere is absolutely ludicrous. They're not even in the same universe concealable as a pistol is, and they're perfectly legal. They're not on the NFA. So why in the world would a short barrel rifle or a short barrel shotgun be? When you figure that out, let me know. There's no need for the NFA. So while this ruling is going to be a pain for gun owners, not only gun owners, but it's going to affect manufacturers as well. While it's going to be a pain for gun owners, hopefully there'll be some good come out of it. And don't lose sleep over it. It's not the end of the world. There are a few things you can do. Well, here's one thing, right? So what can we do in the meantime? Well, for one thing, support your local Second Amendment organizations. Send letters and emails to your local government representatives. Express your opinion of dislike, especially do it with the NFA, and also give them the idea that they might could say that this would make short barrel rifles a common use firearm in the United States and unable to be banned. So that's what you can do. But another thing you can do, like with the guns you own, there's not a lot. I mean, you can take the brace off of it and set it in the safe, but I'm afraid with the way this thing reads that even if you just have a rifle put together with no stock, no brace on it, and a bare buffer tube, If it's in a short barrel configuration, they might could say that that's an SBR. You know, I read you on there where it says whether the surface area that allows the weapon to be fired from the shoulder is created by a buffer tube, receiver extension, or any other accessory or component. So, I mean, I would be afraid, and I'm not a lawyer. I'm not giving you legal advice, so do what you feel comfortable with there. But for me, I don't think I think it's kind of risky just to even leave them together. The best thing to do with them is to separate the upper and the lower. Because if you just have a bare upper, doesn't matter. If it's just a bare upper that is not attached to a lower, then it's not a firearm anyway. It's just a pile of parts at that point. Yeah, this is just a mess. It's an absolute mess that is going to affect millions upon millions upon millions of law-abiding citizens. And that's where it really gets me, right? That's where it gets under my skin. This isn't going to affect the criminal, not one single bit. While I have said, and I will continue to say, that this ruling coming is not a surprise. The fact that they're trying to ban pistol braces is not a surprise. Even from that position, it's so dumb because it doesn't do anything for what they want it to do, right? It's always about crime. They want to take bad things that happen, small percentages of use of these type of firearms, and then rather than do something about the criminals themselves, they want to come after the law-abiding citizen, which is ridiculous, folks. Absolutely ridiculous. Not only that, right? There's that side of it, which is horrible. Think about what it makes the ATF look like. None of you out there like the ATF anyway, right? I mean, you just don't. And the memes flowing around out there about how they're coming after your dog, so forth. Right? Nobody likes them. And here you have them. I mean, I just read off that they changed their mind. What? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like 5, maybe even 6 times over the last 7 years on this one topic. I mean, it makes them look hypocritical at some points because they're like, oh, yeah, well, okay, the pistol braces are fine. And they're like, oh, well, let's think about it from this direction. And maybe they're not fine. They're here. Oh, yeah, never mind. Pistol braces are fine. Come back a couple of years later. Oh, wait a minute. We want to do away with pistol braces. Then they find out it can't be done. And they're like, oh, okay, well, we're going to back off that for a while. Now, all of a sudden, oh, okay, we're going to come after pistol braces again. I mean, it makes them look more foolish than they need to be. So yeah, that's it's a terrible thing. And again, I'm not giving you legal advice. I'm not going to tell you what you should or shouldn't do. I'm giving you like my perspective on what I think about it. And again, let me just in conclusion here say that I really, really do hope and pray that there is some good brought about from this. There's a positive that in some way this gets either the fact that it is stupid to have short-barreled rifles and short-barrel shotguns on the NFA to begin with, because we still have pistols, or we are able to deem short-barreled rifles and short-barrel shotguns to be a common-use firearm, and therefore outside of the possibility of being banned. And in my opinion, which is not a legal opinion, again, I'm not a lawyer, in my opinion, would also negate them from being in the NFA to begin with. So that would be a positive. And let's pray that that's a positive that comes out of this thing. And I really, really hope that's the case. So anyway, guys, I appreciate it if you stuck around this long. If you did and you appreciate my content, please hit the like and subscribe button. Share the video. Again, I'm a small channel, so the only way it gets out there. Thank you. I appreciate you watching this long, and get down in the comments. Leave me a comment and let me know what you think about this situation. If you have any questions, I will do whatever I can to answer them. And again, thank you for stopping in. Appreciate it.